agenda.
I need to add in, I am applying for a grant through the Hillsdale County Community Foundation, and I need your guys' approval. It is due tomorrow.
Okay.
So if you would like to approve that, that would be great.
So yeah, put that under new business. Alright, so, a motion to add under new business, approval of a grant through the Hillsdale
Hillsdale County
Community Foundation,
Yes.
HCCF.
Yes.
Alright, so,
So she can make the motion?
I don't think she can make a motion, so a board member needs to make the motion.
I'll make a motion.
Alright, I hear a motion,
I'll second.
a second, you got that, Laura? And then Karen seconded. Alright, any further discussion of that motion? Alright, seeing none, all in favor? Aye. The motion passes. Are there any other modifications to the agenda anyone would like to make?
I was just gonna add, under communications, just an update from the Friends.
Okay.
And I don't even know if this necessarily has to be on the agenda, but I was looking at the BPU, not BPU, it's the Hillsdale Quarterly Newsletter, and the edition that just came out is December, January, and February, and we've neglected to add Rebecca's name. I don't know who the communicator is it Sam Bright?
It's either
Or
Sam,
they're different
yeah, I was gonna say,
contributors.
I really don't know. I assume it's Sam because I know that he does other social media things, so I just kind of assumed it was Sam.
Rebecca's
But it
name
may
is
not be.
under new hires, although in the past library hires have been under there. And, anyway, and it wasn't under library news or under citywide new hires. I
What
just thought-
newsletter is this?
This is the quarterly.
The BPU quarterly newsletter.
Newsletter
Okay.
that comes out, so I just wondered about adding to that, and, they listed some programs and they kind of rotate what programs they add, like at one time they added the little bookworms, this time they talked about the First Friday play groups, which was wonderful, because in January they're doing 2, but they didn't say anything about the tax people being there and the play groups being suspended.
Okay.
So I just wondered who the contributor was and how we can, and I don't know where that would be on the agenda, or just mentioning it so that. we
Yeah,
can-
potentially put that under new business if we want to establish who should be communicating with
Okay.
them.
And in that same vein, I wondered, I know we did one for Brianna Barton. Jessica Spangler, as a new director, did not want an open house. I'm wondering Rebecca's feelings and the board's feeling about doing an evening, kind of meet and greet, open house.
So,
If that'd be under new business perhaps?
Yeah.
Okay,
anything else?
I think that's it.
Do I hear a second to add these 3 things? I'm hearing 3 things. Under communications, an update from the Friends group. Should we just, and potentially we should just leave that as a standing item on the agenda. And then under news business, a discussion of contribution to updates to the BPU quarterly newsletter, and then a potential of an open house for the director.
And that's new business.
And that would be under new business, yes. Alright. So I hear, I will take that as a motion. Alright, do I hear a second? Seconded from Stephanie, thank you. Any further discussion of any of these proposals? Alright, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright. Any other further proposals for amendments to the agenda? Alright, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the suggested amendments.
I'll second that.
Stephanie and seconded by Karen, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright, the next item is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Are there any comments or questions regarding the minutes from the last meeting from anybody? Alright,
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented. Good,
All right.
great job, Laura.
Trustee Hill moves to approve the minutes as presented. Do I hear a second? A second? Second. Trustee Valentino seconds. Any further discussion?
I do have a discussion point, but it is not necessarily regarding the minutes exactly.
Okay.
So for example, I was not here for this meeting.
Mhm.
We had
Right.
back and forth for a
About
while.
whether or not you should vote to approve minutes for meetings you weren't
Yes.
present for.
What was the official decision as far as that rules? I can see either way.
I
So-
don't think we reached a decision. Yeah, we discussed it, but I don't think we came down. From my own point of view as chair, I think it would be perfectly legitimate for a trustee to abstain from voting regarding the minutes for meetings they weren't present at.
Although, with Penny's video, and someone watched it, I don't know,
Yeah,
not that
right.
we can always
But you
expect
weren't
to have it
present.
videoed.
But if somebody wasn't present as an official participant, approving the minutes based on video evidence viewed after the fact, that feels a little unofficial. Personally, I think it doesn't invalidate a trustee's vote. But if a trustee prudentially wishes to say, I think it better if I abstain since I wasn't present, I think that's fine as well. So I think the answer is it's up to the trustee in question, as far as I'm concerned. But if anybody wants to make to amend our policies or bylaws to specify that as a rule, they can bring forward that proposal. But we don't have a rule about it. Okay. Any further discussion regarding approval of the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented? Aye. All in favor. The next item is visitor comments. Are there any comments from our visitors today? Moving on to our director's report for the month, and I will turn it over to the director.
Okay, so I do have to apologize, specifically for the balance sheet and the revenue and expenditure report. I was trying to be smart about how these printed, and I think that the quality may not be the best, so if you need me to, clarify anything, I can. So let me I got a few things going on here. Sorry if I speak a lot. So, much like I said last month, a lot of the statistics that we had were down because we had a second month of many closed days, especially a lot grouped together. So, what was it, the 23rd through the 26th for Christmas, and then the 30th to the 2nd for New Year's. So I think those and granted those are mostly the weekends, but still I think that did impact a lot of our circulation statistics. And I know I didn't provide you guys more actual numbers, but I did go through and highlight some of the things in terms of our circulation. We had a lot of board books circulate from November to December. Almost all junior items, which are everything in that room over there, everything saw an increase except for nonfiction graphic novels. Junior nonfiction graphic novels, we really only have like 10 of them anyways, so I don't. A notable thing for the young adult, everything basically stayed the same much as it always does, but we did have some of the playaways checked out. And if any of you guys are not sure what the playaways are, they're basically something you just plug headphones into, and it's a book. Moving on from that, the adult new items, there was a big increase. I'm not sure if potentially that is because now we're back to having a director and we're able to pump out more books more often. The only thing is I'm not able to tell you if it's nonfiction or fiction because we don't classify new fiction and new nonfiction, and it doesn't fall under our regular nonfiction either. So all I know is that there was an increase. I'm not sure if it was fiction or nonfiction. In terms of regular nonfiction, we had a lot of 600s nonfiction checked out, which is mostly cookbooks, technology, agriculture, things like that. And then the last thing is that our sci-fi books, as well as our digital services, so that's Hoopla and Overdrive, also saw a big boom in checkouts. So that was a pleasant surprise. Going on to the second page of my specific report, you will notice almost everything we are up in terms of our financials, except for we didn't get another $400,000. So we did lose, we did lose a little bit there. The only other thing, well, no, that's not true. It's not reflected on here, but it did technically happen in December. The County National Bank just hand delivered the checks instead of mailing them, so they came in January. But anyways, we also had another trust payout. We have another yearly trust. I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Calder. There's a plaque for him, kind of right in front of the YA section. So we got roughly $23,000 from that, and then our other yearly trust payout, which I am blanking on the name, Gardner. It was like around $1,200, I believe. So that's not reflected here, but it did technically happen in December. So you will see that at February's board meeting. And then you will notice under children's donations, we don't typically get children's donations. Now the $517, that is from our friends of the library that covered half of our backpack cart for the Storytime at Home kits. And then the other 1,000 is from an anonymous patron who also noticed some, what would I call the word? Negative press online about us going on a spending spree after getting our cart. So they felt the need to also donate, so we weren't under pressure of that. That being said, I did consult Tina about if we were to purchase that cart, not with donations or anything, it would have gone under children's area supplies. And we would have technically gone over budget, but it wouldn't have been a big deal anyways, because budget amendments and all that sort of stuff. So that is that for my specific report here. Now I do also have some other things.
So the Friends donation was specifically for the, to contribute?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
great.
yes.
Thank you, Friends.
And thank you to a donor who heard negative press and went, you know what, we'll do better.
Okay, so some other things that I didn't include on there, following our Giving Tree donation throughout the month of December, I have sent thank you cards to everyone that I could confidently track down their address. So a thank you card to, I think I sent about maybe 7 or 8 or 10, not 10, 7, 8 or 9. But there was definitely more. I just wasn't gonna send thank you cards to people that I did not have addresses for. Now with that being said, I also in every single person's thank you card gave out, I think 2 and maybe 3 on one of them. A free movie rental ticket. So we are, if we get them back, I don't believe we've actually gotten any back, but if we do, we would, I at most sent out 20, like sent out 20 total tickets. And we would potentially lose out on $20 of revenue there. But considering that we probably got at least $500 worth of things donated to us, I think we can make that sort of
That's a win.
yeah. And then a small note on me, I graduated and my pay raise is effective, so that is all taken care of. Next thing, Dakota, our shelver, he injured himself last week, so if anybody wants to help us shelf, you are more than welcome to. He wants to be back next week, but he is taking it slowly and everything. We did have our volunteer, Pam. She did come in twice this week, which is out of the ordinary technically for her, and she did get everything taken care of, but it all comes back very quick, so potential for that to bite us in the butt again. Next thing, we had somebody completely soil one of our chairs in the book nook area. And so right now it is blocked off back there, but Annette did bring it to my attention that instead of now sitting back there, they're sitting in the new teen chairs that Jessica bought. So I think we are going to just open that area back up, and I am not opposed to getting newer, more comfortable book nook type chairs back there anyways, maybe water resistant or leather or something more, something you can clean.
Something easier to clean.
Yeah,
So could we scotch guard them? Like,
so that, it wouldn't hurt, I think it wouldn't hurt for us to look into it. I have not started that process because this happened last Saturday, so it was a very, very recent, happening. Next, Liz Voorhees, she does not really do cataloging anymore, but she has been working on our long, we had a lot of books that were damaged and needed mending, so she has taken care of a lot of those. Unfortunately, we are about to be losing her for a good portion of time because she has a lot of vacation that she's taking that's already pre-arranged with the city and everything. So we will be down a staff member for a good portion up until April. And then my next item has to do with the backpack kits. Last I checked, 9 were checked out, but I think we're up to either 11 or 12. So I wanna say, I think we're at either 12 to 15 total circulations. I haven't looked at it again. And those have only really been out for a week and a half or 2 weeks. The next item, we might be closing this Saturday just because we're supposed to get a lot of snow. I don't know for sure yet, but I just wanted to let you guys know that there is a potential for that. And then on February 27th, we will be closed for library services because that is the primaries. And so we will be open, people will be voting here. We just are not, we can't be open to the public since in here they have one of the wards and we can't be open if the books are obstructed. We also have the Vita Tax group coming in. They're coming in February 1st through April 15th. So that is always helpful because they do give us a lot of money to be in here. I submitted state aid last week, so we are all set with that. Great feeling to be done with that. And then I will expand, I guess, a little bit more on the grant that I'm applying for later, but basically what I am applying for or wanting to get money for is our summer reading program, and I have created cards with Heidi of just like little posters, promotional things, small gifts, or not gifts, small prizes, just a bunch of stuff like that. Yeah, incentives. And then in terms of the folky construction regarding the doors, I have not gotten a message back. I have even called, left a voicemail, and their website supposedly is folkconstruction.com or .org, and it comes up with some other website. I don't really know. I will keep trying. I'll keep trying to be a pester to them. And then my last thing is that I'm probably going to be starting an oversized book project pretty soon. So right now in our nonfiction section, you will notice that if there are any oversized books, they're just laying horizontally on the bottom shelf. I do not like the way that looks, and I know that we have a whole open shelf, I think by the DVD, on the opposite side of the DVDs, which so long as we can move the actual shelves, I will start that project because I think we can do better than laying them horizontally. And that's all that I have. So that's that part. So we can move on to the financials if everybody would like to.
Does anyone have questions for the director about any of the above?
Would you be willing to send me that list for reading?
Yes, I can, yes.
Thank you.
So will it be a problem with Vita Tax, the same coinciding
yes.
with the primary?
Yes, we had to do some figuring, but on that, so the city and DPS are coming sometime on the 26th, that Monday, to start setting everything up. The Vita Tax people, I have told them they can be in there, and I'm going to hope and pray that they get until about noon/1 p.m. to push everything into room 2. They will not be in on the Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, I will help them move everything back to how they did, or how they did have it. So yes, but we figured it out.
Yes. So there'll be 2 wards voting down here, 1 in here, and where will the other wards?
So this is our tentative plan. I know Katie, the city clerk, says that Ward 3 is in this children's area because it's the biggest ward. So this is the biggest area. They are also going to be using meeting room 1 and meeting room 3 because they like to have access to the fridge for the inspectors. And then the fourth one will be back in the book nook area where somebody also did just a bit of an issue. But it should all be taken care of by then. Good. And I should say, I did also offer to them that they could have one in the children's, one in the meeting room, one in the book nook area, and then one in there, because we can move the bookshelves in the junior section, they're all on wheels, but, they did not like that option, so they're, yes. It's all been figured out and worked
Okay,
out.
thank you.
It just took some, we had to do a lot of talking to a few people.
Any further questions for the director on any of that? All right, so moving on to the balance sheet report of the library fund. Everybody might notice there's been a significant change, so I'll ask the director to address that.
Yeah, so you will see that, so last month, the top line, checking account common, would have had an additional $400,000 in there, because of our Kunesh Trust. And then I can't remember exactly when, either the last week of December, it had to have been the last week of December, I'm thinking. I got a call from Tina and she said, would you like me to move the, some $400,000 over? And I said, sure. Now I know that that does actually have to come from you guys. She did want to do that on her own, but thankfully she did ask me and I said yes. So I do understand that the channels of that happening wasn't, I think, exactly how it has to go with the board. At the same time, I do think it is the smart thing to do to put the money there, but again, I know that that did not happen the way that it should have. So yeah.
For my part, I'll say we probably, as a group, would have said the smart thing to do with the money is put it in investments and add the resulting revenue to our next annual budget. That's what I would have advised as well. I do think going forward, anytime there's a significant decision regarding the financials, especially with the large money, that should definitely be an approval process. But if the city called Rebecca and Rebecca said, yes, that sounds like a good idea, and we'd already had discussions to that effect, I don't think there's any second guessing to be done in this case, frankly. But yeah, prudentially going forward, that should definitely be a public discussion on the part of the board. We should probably have a motion and a vote to choose to deposit funds in one way or another. But in this case, I don't think there's that much to worry about. But I'm willing to listen to dissenting opinions if anybody thinks, no, there's something else we really ought to be doing with this money.
Yeah, and that, if anybody doesn't know, that specific account is at least 5% interest, which I think I asked for clarification on. The 5% does actually change every day, but, and I forget the word that they use, and I'm not an accounting person, so it's not a word I regularly use, but we get the 5% interest on it at the end of the month or monthly. So it doesn't gain anything like day to day, just monthly. I believe there, again, is a more financial word to explain that, but that is not my skill, that's not my career or anything. And lastly, they did only 400,000, so technically there is still, I think, there's in excess of 21,000 or so in our common, but so yeah, if you guys want to move the other 21,000, we can, or we can keep it where it's at.
And that 400,000 that got moved, it's not like we can't touch it if there were.
Yeah, we can come back to it, we can
major
say.
issue here in the library, and we needed to tap some of it for a major
Yes.
repair if it's unexpected.
And now I will say, so I did go to a budget kickoff meeting today, and so I did have to have some things kind of reclarified to me, I would say. So that $420,000, $21,000 from the trust, basically is just a part of our library, our pot of money essentially. So only the library can use it, but going forward, if we have a project, we don't ever, because there was no specifications on the trust money, we don't ever have to say, okay, we're gonna use $20,000 of this and we're taking it from the trust money, because that's 421,000 is just a part of our money now. Like, we don't, if we're making a purchase or if we're approving a project, we don't have to say, and we wanna take this from our donation chunk. That chunk is just a part of our library fund chunk. But we can say, or we, for our own purposes, say, well, we're getting our carpet fixed and the $20,000 for it technically came from the Kunesh Trust, but that trust actually doesn't mean anything in our bank account, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, we don't, there are no requirements to specify we're using trust money for X,
Yes,
Y, or Z,
yes.
it's just in the pot.
We can use it as a justification, like saying we have the money for it, but at this point, where the money came from, it does not really matter. Since then, this is where the image quality kind of takes a hit.
I find it all perfectly legible.
Okay. So the only thing that I have to say about this, and again, I don't believe it will be reflected in this one, it will be at our February meeting. Somehow, between directors, we had a bunch of Ingram invoices. Something happened, and they weren't paid, and luckily I don't think we have incurred any late fines or fees on that. I did take care of them, I did all the things that I need to do for it, but at our next board meeting, you might see in books, like it might have a significant jump more than what would be normal. And as far as I'm aware, I have been looking here at everything at this point. The thing that really bothers me is that when I started, George gave me administrative access, but this, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 invoices show up nowhere on my account. I cannot find them. I have no idea, like, thankfully they sent me an email saying like, this is it, gave me electronic copies of it, but I cannot find them anywhere electronically. And I kind of already knew that something was amiss, because when I first started, we had a whole truck full of books that had no mark records. And so I know why we don't have the mark records for them, but we also couldn't find the invoice for them. So I did kind of know that there was something wrong, but there was no way for me to figure it out, because we had like nothing to track it down at all. Yeah, I don't know what it, I mean, luckily they sent them to us. I don't think we have to pay anything extra on them, but it
Well,
just was.
If there's anything odd in the bookkeeping, I can come in, log into the account I was using in the interim, go through my communications and make sure everything matches up. But my understanding when orders were being placed in the interim was that invoices were being sent back to the city.
Yeah, I am not sure what happened. It was a little, like, when I got the email, I was like, it was just frustrating, because like you would think that since I have administrative access to that, like on our account, that they would show up, but there's like a complete skip between, I can't even remember the months, but it's basically everything from either August or September, and like there's like a jump in the months that we do have invoices for. So I'm not sure where they disappeared.
Well, if you said, you can email me, I will log in to my account and look at the invoices for the orders placed in the interim
Okay.
that I can see on my end
Okay.
with my login info, and maybe that'll fill in all your gaps.
Okay. Well, like I have them now.
Okay.
So it's fine now. But
It's all clear.
that was just the explanation on that. I don't know that I have anything. I don't know that I have anything else to contribute, or at least anything that is jumping out to me on this right now.
Does anyone have any questions for the director regarding the revenue and expenditure report for December? Hearing none, I'm ready to move on if everybody else is, unless somebody's still taking their time. No? Okay. All right, next is item 7, communications. We have an update from the Friends Group.
I spoke with Brianna, their secretary, Free-for-All. The Friends are still working on the tax exempt status. She's been meeting with Greg Bailey and getting some information. Unfortunately, there were some forms missing. I know she tried to talk to Rebecca, or did talk to Rebecca, saying that their things should have been filed in her office, and there was like, you said one sheet of paper.
There was
in there.
one sheet of paper and it was a Friends of the Library meeting agenda from December 2021. That's all that I had.
And so, according to Greg, the government sent us forms 3 years in a row that we don't have on file and that didn't get processed, which probably is not a government error. And obviously there's been a change in, the Friends president and vice, and
Forgive me, you
treasurers.
said Greg?
Pardon me?
His name is Greg Bailey.
Greg Bailey
And
is the
who's-
CPA.
He's the CPA they're working with,
Yeah,
Greg Bailey.
and he's
Okay.
so far doing it, I believe. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So far.
Been very helpful, obviously, it's, so it's a little bit more complicated because we don't have those records. He's working on taking care of that. The Friends were working on doing a t-shirt with a Valentine theme, and there is an online Facebook vote. They have 4 t-shirts pictured, and you can like or vote for whichever one you want, and then the winning one, I think the election or the vote ends Friday, like by 5, so that they have turnaround time to get those t-shirts printed, and then they'll be able to sell those. I think that's it. And Lynette, the treasurer's name is Lynette.
Right.
I believe the last name is Filippo.
Filippo. Yeah.
Filippo. Okay, I have trouble with that name, but I could get the spelling too. I looked it up so I could, I know last time I did not have the treasurer's name for you, in person, but I think that's it. They were gonna do some book bags. They ordered one and Bree didn't like the quality of it and felt that they should wait, and then now and before they were bundling things with a membership to the Friends and a backpack, if you got one or the other, and then if you bundled it, it was a different price. But they felt they should suspend those until they get this tax exempt status figured out. So I think that was a wise move. So they have still been meeting, and they picked up some new members.
We moved the meeting though.
Pardon me?
The meeting will start gonna be on the 4th Tuesday of the month now.
Okay, 4th Tuesday?
Except
Okay.
February because we're closed for the primary.
Oh, right.
Or no, and there was something else too. I can't remember what Bree said, but, or Brianna, somebody had said something, and so I think the February meeting, it doesn't work for some reason. Now I can't remember, now that I'm trying to remember it. But yeah, I think it's because of the primaries.
And obviously, the last time they were there, they voted on that wonderful donation for the mobile cart, which was huge. And it looks like it's very sturdy, so it won't
So
tip.
those wheels are the most amazing wheels on a car I have ever put together or purchased. Like seriously, those locks on there are,
Industrial.
it is, yes, there have been little children who like crawl on top of like the bottom part. I mean, and they're, small children, so they don't weigh a lot or anything like that, but that thing does not move. So, feeling confident in that purchase for the time being.
Yeah, no, middle schoolers are gonna walk off with it.
Yeah, no,
No.
not yet.
So thanks to the Friends for that generous
Yes.
donation.
Wonderful. Okay. Any questions for Trustee Hill? No? All right. Moving on to old business, our first item under old business is a proposed new version of the process for adding or amending library policies. I brought this proposal forward last month for the board's consideration. I've made one edit to the version, to the draft, and that is reflected in the current draft this month that we can have a look at. And I put it out to the group to bring any further proposals for editing. I would feel confident about making a motion to accept as it's currently proposed today, but first I want to hear everybody's thoughts.
I have,
Yes.
okay, so first of all, I think slimming it down was great, because when I look at this, I don't wanna read it. I really don't.
The original.
The original, yes. I really, like, yes. So the only thing that I really think it's just a rewording. And so I typed up a copy if it's easier for everybody to see it. I just didn't include it in yours. But I have one for everyone. But in the proposed version, the third paragraph, the last sentence that starts with depending on the nature, I think that is just too ambiguous. Okay, so the sentence that I phrased is new policies or significant changes to an existing policy should be reviewed by the city attorney and or a law librarian if it's something that our city attorney just doesn't have enough knowledge on. So if applicable, prior to a final vote by the board members. And the only reason I think it should change to prior to a final vote is because if we are adding in a new policy, I think it's smart to have somebody who has a legal sense, legal background to check it out. I think it makes more sense for us to talk about I think it makes more sense to have somebody else review it before you guys vote on it, because if you guys vote on it and approve it and then it goes to the attorney and they say, no, you need to make these changes, I think it would prolong the addition of the policy new or changes by an extra month, whereas if we had it phrased this way, it can be sent to the attorney, he can say, great, maybe change this word to this, and then when we come to the next meeting, I can give you guys the changes, then you can say, you can approve it. I personally just did not like the depending on the nature, because I'm not sure what that means. I think it can be taken a few different ways, and I know that that's how it was originally phrased too, I believe.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if you guys want me to pass it along so you guys can see it next to each other, okay. And then the only other change that I have or suggesting is the last thing, taking out or designated staff member. I would never ask, and I don't think it's anybody else, I wouldn't wanna ask the staff member to change any of the policies, because I don't think that should be their job. So yeah, that
And
is.
if it's entered incorrectly.
Even if it's just an editing job, you wouldn't pass that over.
I wouldn't wanna ask somebody to do that just because, not that I don't think that they should, I just don't think that it's their job to do that sort of stuff. I mean, they're people who work at the front desk and do circulation, they don't need to be worried about or be bothered by this sort of stuff, so.
That's more administrative, you see.
Yeah,
Okay.
No, I have an extra one if somebody still needs one.
Does everyone have a copy of the budget suggested edit?
Oh, I didn't realize I had a second.
No problem, thank you. So the only thing I would suggest is, so looking at your highlighted suggested sentence, new policies or significant changes, etc., after and/or a law librarian, if applicable. I think we could just strike if applicable, and it would still, the sentence would have the same sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine by me.
So that's probably.
Because
the only thing.
I included if applicable, just like I said, if there was something that, like the city attorney, I don't know if every legal person knows every single law across the board, so just if there was something overly specific to libraries, that would be when I would say we should consult a law librarian, because that's their specific.
So instead of saying if applicable, could you say if advised by the city? No, I think it's too wordy. I was gonna say if the city attorney has a problem with it and feels we should take it to the next level, how could you word that?
The other, while we're thinking about that, the other thing is, I'm not sure the term is law librarian. I think
Library of Michigan or something, what do you,
Uh,
what would you say?
Library law attorney?
Library legal expert.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm okay with changing
I know,
that,
it's
I
come
said law librarian
Right.
because I did,
Mhm. We can go back and look it up and figure out
I was
what
gonna
the
say,
exact term is.
Yes, we actually just spoke about that not that long ago.
Yeah, so we
but-
should
okay,
remember what that's about.
okay,
Well, and that's what Claire, I forgot her last
Mhm.
name, recommended at that
Yeah.
training session. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll circle back or
Um,
something.
so probably in our past minutes, it would say the
Mhm.
term for that.
so I'll just say, when it comes to procedure, my impression, based on my interactions with Mr. Mackey and with the city attorneys, is what they prefer is that the board doesn't, or an individual board member does not contact the city attorney and ask for services.
Correct.
However, you can
Mhm.
as a city employee. So what can happen is, you can have a policy proposal you want to bring to the board, but feel free to run it by the city attorney first, and then bring it to the board and say, and just so everybody knows, I already ran it by the city attorney,
Right,
so we
right.
know that's fine. Or if a board member has a proposal, they send a message saying, hey, everybody, I'd like to bring this proposal, please, get ready to have to share your thoughts on it. And then once you're copied on that, then it can just be assumed that you're going to pass
To
it
take
along
care of it.
to the city attorney for review.
Okay.
Or would we
Yeah, that, it's
discuss it,
it's baked into the process.
or would it come to the board for discussion first for any tweaking, and then the next,
I
then
think,
go to the attorney and then back us for a final vote and approval the next month, or does that drag it out too long?
What do you think, Joe?
I think the board should probably be the one to recommend it, because if, if we come here and it's just everyone except the person who wrote it says, I have no interest in this, we probably don't want the attorney to spend time on it.
Good point.
So I think they should probably come through the board if possible.
So
Okay.
the other option is that a proposal is brought either by the director or a board member. It comes before the board says either no, or says yes, pending approval by the city attorney. So we can say yes to something, pending approval by the city attorney, but it's understood that nothing goes into the manual until the city attorney
It's approved.
contacts us and says, yes, it's approved, and then notice of that could be brought up at the next meeting. We could say, we provisionally approved the proposal, it went to the attorney, it's come back, the attorney has said yes,
And I
now
can
we
just
can,
deliver
now
that.
we can put it in the manual.
That's something that, like, following that, I take something to the city attorney, they say yes,
Mhm.
then the next board meeting, we don't really need to bring it up in new business, I can, under old business, just
Yeah,
say, it has been approved, we'll add it in, and like, that's the discussion on that.
or you can come back and say the attorney has reservations about it, or the attorney, it doesn't think he ought to give an opinion and recommended we seek more specialized
Okay.
counsel. Yeah, that makes sense. So I can take this back and rework it, include your suggested language, just so that's all clear.
Okay.
Any other input on this process?
So just to clarify,
Yes.
so you are going to take this edit, I don't need to continue, like,
Right.
you're, okay.
Right, so this was my idea. I won't make you do the work of editing the draft.
Okay.
But I'll take this away, I'll put in your suggestions, make clear kind of the process we just talked about, and then bring it back next month.
Okay.
Any further discussion on that item? Alright. Seeing none, let's move on to item B, Budgetary Committee. So, Trustee Hill and I, and along with the director, are the appointed Budgetary Committee, which means we're going to actually try to work with Rebecca and the city on developing our budget for the coming fiscal year, besides just coming and receiving updates at monthly meetings. And I suppose the first thing to do is to say that the director told me that this morning she would be attending a meeting where she gets trained, and correct me if I'm wrong, where she theoretically was going to get trained
So,
on the system for developing the budget.
so here's the thing, yes and no. I went to a budget kickoff meeting where they gave me instructions, a timeline, and basically instructions and a timeline. I do have the timeline with me as well as the procedure for it. So the budget kickoff was today. I got all the information that meeting, and then Tina has also been sending me a few other things that have to be taken into consideration and computed by me/us. Everything in terms of our budgetary committee and us planning a meeting, the first stage of it is due February 8th. So, yes, that is the first stage of it. And then after that, I think they start to review it, and then I myself have to meet with the city manager and Karen Lancaster, who's the finance director. And then basically after that, I have been told that it becomes a city manager and city council thing. So, we don't have to go and defend it, for lack of better words, to city council. Basically, they just approve it as long as nothing is like, as long as we don't come up with some number that's like a completely doubled figure of what our budget already is. So like right now, it's about 238 something or other, you can see on our revenue and expenditure. So as long as it's not anything like crazy, like $100,000, 200, you know, something like that. So really, the work that we would be doing goes up until about February 8th. I meet with, again, Mr. David Mackey, and then I'm not sure how much else I have to do with the rest of it, with them at least. Everything else, I think, just becomes what I report to you guys. Based on my understanding of this, which I can pass this along, and then there's also a procedure on the back, which I guess I can also go over that. So each board, commission officer, and department head shall submit his recommended budget with supporting explanation, which is stuff that we will be doing. And then the city manager shall prepare and submit to the council on or before the first regular meeting. And then he has to do all of these things right here. This is all the city manager's job. So we only have to do the top part. Now, something else I do want to pass along after today's meeting as well, from Karen and Tina. I believe this only has to do with significant projects, but there are some things that they say, I don't know how to phrase this, so I apologize, but essentially, for certain things, like if we wanted to enter into a contract with somebody, from what I can understand, I believe that has to go through city council first. So there has to be, you guys have to say you recommend to the city council, and I have to bring a resolution to city council, or Karen does, I can't remember, for certain contracts. I believe I need more clarification on that again as well, because there is a certain point at which like things have to come from me, I believe. So you guys can recommend it, we can all talk about it, but I have to pass it along to city council, but only for like specific types of financial projects. So like if we were entering into a new contract with a different copy, like printer copier sort of a thing. I really don't know how often we do this sort of stuff, but that was just something that they said. So I included that on there.
So even renewal of contracts, like our Woodlands contract? or
That,
the
no,
current
because
office solutions when we do the computers?
I believe
or
that,
the Xerox machine?
I believe that is, it's not new, it doesn't
Okay,
have to
so
be.
it's standard operating.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
believe it has to be brought up to city council again, because we're not changing anything. I'm not sure if us ending a contract would also have to go through city council, because I don't know that city council would care to know that. I mean, but I don't know, that hasn't been anything that they have, you know, that's not anything that I find to be worried about in the short term anyways. I don't know that we have any projects that you guys are anticipating yet, so.
So yes, could you please email all of us those documentation so everybody has that in front of us, what the timeline and process are? That'd be good. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't really learn a whole lot. They basically were giving me the instructions on how to come back to my office and do this. So I have instructions, but we weren't really sitting down and saying, and then you go up here and you click this. It was just, here it is, go
Here's-
have,
Yeah.
go have fun trying
Build the
this.
plane while you're flying it.
Yeah,
Go.
yeah, so that was that, but of course, like, if we have any questions, we can of course, call them and say,
I mean, just off the top of my head, questions I would have for our financial people would be, what kind of increased revenues are we looking at next year from the investments from our new trust? How does that change our consideration for our budget? What would you recommend, the particular line items be based on previous year's records? What would it do to our budget if we baked in annual raises for everybody, Because obviously this is math, these are numbers we cannot crunch ourselves. We have to have a finance person communicate this to us, but short of forcing that person to come to all of our meetings, we've got to have a regular line of communication to get these answers.
So, in terms of pay raises and all that, I actually do think that is something we take care of. It's for part-time employees. For me, I think because I'm salaried and also full-time, I think they take care of that based on how I was understanding the communications between the other bigger departments. The library budget is actually pretty easy compared to the rest, so we're lucky in that sense. We have less staff, we do have less staff, but we also have like firefighters, though they can be like on call or stuff like that, whereas we don't really have things like that.
We have simpler schedules.
We have much simpler budgets compared to the rest. They have given me everything for us to crunch the numbers. And essentially what I have been told is that when we budget, we're basically making guesses and estimations on what we may or may not need. And Karen Lancaster, the finance director, which she only basically works with the city, I think, once a week. So she works for other cities as well. And so she said, in terms of the library budget, again, because ours is so simple compared to the others, we basically can just look at what it was in previous and say, let's take into consideration inflation, things like that, or salary, pay raises. We can crunch the numbers and say, all right, we're at 50,000, we want to go up to 60,000, I don't know. And we basically enter a note saying, this is what this is,
And this is why.
yeah, and so if they have questions about it, then they would call us and say, what's this about, and, yeah.
But, for example, if we're trying to do the math ourselves and lay out all the numbers and say, okay, what would a 3% raise to all of our part-time staff do to the budget? How would that adjust this particular line item? Is that math we're expected to do to figure out ourselves, or can we like call Tina and say, hey Tina, can you tell us if we do X, what's the outcome?
I believe what I would say is that we're probably gonna have to try and do the work on our own.
Okay.
And then if we're like, this math doesn't make sense or something like that, then we could go to Tina or Karen and say, can you check our math or something like that. But yeah, I haven't really looked into that stuff yet because I was kind of more so worried about preparing for like our board meetings. I haven't started anything yet with our
board.
Yeah, I haven't really started looking into it yet. They make it seem very easy, but I'm inclined to believe that that is not the case. So I'm sure that there's more hurdles.
Yeah, I would say aside from considerations of raises, the most significant question is just how big a bump are we going to get from our return on investments? Because of this new figure we've got. And there's no way we can figure that out ourselves, like, we need the finance. to
Yeah,
help us
they do take care of some parts of it for us, I just can't remember the specific line items that they take care of. Actually, I do, things like, budget. So, for example, they would take care of everything like the current taxes, special acts, delinquent taxes, all of that sort of stuff, and then basically where we kind of come into play and on figuring out numbers would be subscription card sales, and then all the way down, which that is at 271,000,000,588, all the way down, except for penal fines, to rents meeting rooms, which is 667,271. The rest of that stuff, I believe we do take into consideration, but I mean, for all of those contributions and donations, technology, all of that, I don't think those are things that we really, those don't seem like hard things for us to figure out anyways.
Trends.
Yeah, and then I believe we also go through all of the things that would be on your second sheet of the budget, or the revenue and expenditures, except for, I believe, probably the FICA, unemployment insurance, all of that sort of stuff. I believe finance takes care of that, because that's more HR related things. So yeah, we don't have to come up with every single line item. There are some things that they take care of for us.
And we can get more into the weeds when we
Yes,
do our budget committee thing.
yes.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion on budget development? Any questions, directives?
Good luck.
Thanks. All right. Well, hearing no further discussion on that item, move on to building issues. So, Rebecca, we haven't heard from Folk Construction.
Nope.
Can we talk to the DPS and say, is there anyone else we could reach out to?
I mean, in all honesty, we could also seek another company.
Right, and we could probably take the initiative
Yes,
to do
we
that.
can.
Yeah.
I am just hopeful that the Folk people would get back with us, because Selena from DPS said they already know what we are on
Right.
file with them technically. They know of our issues,
They
so
work for us, yeah.
it would be easy for us to just continue with them.
Cause did they actually come out and do the initial inspection of it, or was that DPS and then DPS recommended that?
No, Folk has given us an estimate
Yeah.
before, so they have inspected the what work to be done, and I think they've done work.
They for sure have done something, because we got invoiced since I've been here for something,
Mhm.
so. I think tree removal maybe, I don't know.
Well, based on our conversations and communications so far, my impression is this door job is kind of a mid-term thing. It's not a short-term thing, it's an emergency, it's a mid-term thing. We're baking it into the next fiscal year, which is July onward. So we just need an estimate before then. Of course, we're developing the budget like right now. We need to get something to the city by February. So we would prefer, I mean, of course, the budget is an estimate.
Yes.
Right, it's not exact figures, it's an estimate, so we could look at last year's estimate that they gave us and say, all right, we've got to bake in at least this much, probably a little more to our
Yes.
budget proposal.
That's what I was about to say, is that it might just, I will keep trying to get in contact with them. I dialed this specific extension that Selena from DPS said, left a message, and like I said, didn't hear anything back from him. I gave him not only the director's number, maybe this was the problem. I said, you can give us a call, my direct number, the front desk, or even email me. Maybe that was the problem, that I gave them too many lines,
Too many
too many options. I don't know, but I don't know. But yeah, I was gonna say, if we can just use their basic, or their original budget, estimate from last year.
Yeah, just at least for a
Estimated,
budget
yeah,
proposal.
yeah.
Sure. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. Any other building issues come up since we last spoken?
Just the book note.
Just the book nook. Okay, yeah.
Would computers aren't under building issue, but we forgot to mention that. Do we have the computers that were ordered how long ago that were in our budget that have been delivered that we still don't have here?
We don't have any new computers, no. The only thing that we recently had to have fixed, which I don't think we really knew about it, but Brandon did, something to do with the fax line. We got an updated fax line because the service was about to go out or something, basically over New Year's, so that all got fixed, but that's the only IT thing that we've really had.
Because I think I know what you're talking about. We were told they were catalog computers, right? We were told
Were
we were
they?
expecting catalog computers that had been ordered, that had arrived, that were sitting in a box somewhere, and that IT just hadn't gotten around to installing. So I distinctly remember conversations like this, and it's entirely possible they just got put in and nobody told us, or they haven't gotten put in and they're still sitting somewhere. But I would maybe follow up with, it's Brandon, right?
Mhm.
Follow up with Brandon and say, hey, weren't we expecting new catalog computers? Do you have any communications about that?
And I know that this predates when I started
Right.
working here, but I also thought we were getting new or more computers or something for our public computers.
Mhm.
I didn't know.
The general use public.
Yeah, I didn't think that it had to do with the catalog computers.
Yeah, I knew the catalog computers had been non-functioning for a while. How are they right now?
I'm pretty sure they were.
They're working.
Yeah, as
Well,
far
if
as I'm aware.
both the catalog computers are working, that's an improvement over the situation in the recent past, so. Okay. Alright. Well, my only awareness was of that the catalog computers had been defunct for ages. So if they're working now, then,
I believe they were,
That's been
so
addressed.
maybe those did get replaced.
okay.
The only thing is, I know for sure, like, if you go and look at our public computers, like, I can't even think about it, there's for sure two, maybe four, maybe more, that don't work, so we really only have like, we don't really have a lot of
You
public.
just had signs on it.
Yeah, and
Okay.
not only that, but many of the public computers are like the small square monitors, which like, I mean, compared to like that, like, I don't wanna look at a small square, but.
I mean, and you could get a hold of Brandon and say, hey, could we get this fixed up a little nicer?
We basically keep getting, from what I can understand, we just keep getting a new, this is when it'll happen, basically, like, oh, it'll happen.
We keep getting new dates.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So I don't know where we're at on the totem pole,
Yeah.
but
Well, yeah, if you do have a communication with IT prior to the next meeting, if they give you some hard and fast, we'll get you this many computers by this date, include that in a memo to us, so we've got a
Okay.
paper trail.
okay.
Anything else come up with the building?
Nope.
Any other questions about that generally? All right, Ganesh Trust, I'm not quite sure what else there is to say.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
two
there's
final
something.
things. Okay,
Yes.
we got an additional $174 because there was a farm insurance premium payout. So there's that. We got another $174. And then we got the plaque today. I thought it was supposed to get shipped today, but it got delivered today.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know if you guys, I don't know if you guys want a closer look at it, but I thought I'd bring it just,
Pass it around.
okay.
That's
You can
beautiful.
take a
Thank
look
you
at it
for doing that.
first. That's all I have on that.
So, a place in mind?
I was thinking of just putting it at the entrance because there are either two or, I don't know, there's other ones that are similar to what this would have been for. So that's what I'm thinking, but I haven't really thought too much about it. And
Could we have Heidi do a Facebook post of just
Yeah.
this?
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
Okay, great.
in that, I believe the final cost of it was $70 maybe, I think. I can't remember. I know the original price of it was like 63, I just don't know what the shipping and handling was
That's
on
really
it.
nice.
Continuing spending spree, I see.
Yes. Yeah.
Well done.
Beautiful, thank you. Anything else on that?
I really think that might be the end of the Kunesh Trust on our.
Well, does the rest of the board agree that this no longer needs to appear on old business starting next month? All right,
eternally grateful.
Yes, oh my goodness. All right, so that takes us into new business, starting, I believe, with the grant proposal. We need our approval.
Yeah, basically I just need you guys to say you approved it, and then I will probably, before I leave tonight, go in and like,
Do you have any paperwork?
I don't because like there's nothing that would really exist prior to me
Yeah.
submitting
And
it.
you're just applying for a grant, right? So we're only,
But usually
Yeah.
a trustee or a board president has to sign off. as
right,
well.
usually there's something we need to sign, so am I gonna need to come in and sign something?
You can, yeah, so
Okay,
if you wanna, it has to be submitted. I would prefer to have it submitted and taken care of tonight before I leave.
okay,
So all you have to do is do an electronic signature. It looks terrible because it doesn't work right, but,
they'll probably accept it.
yeah, mine's pretty, yeah.
Yeah, just text me.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, either tonight or tomorrow.
Okay.
I think it's due tomorrow at 11:59.
I think I can click through
And
and
they're very
select
strict on
electronic
deadlines.
signature.
Okay.
So, real quick, tell us what this is and what it's for and how much money is involved.
So it's a yearly grant that, this one is specifically for libraries, so I know all of the surrounding libraries in Hillsdale County apply for it. You can really ask for as much or as little as you want, except for apparently they have never said like what the limit is. So I know last year,
Okay.
last year, I believe we accepted and got about $340, I think it was. Well, after talking with the Jonesville director, she asked for $1,000 last year and got approved for it. So I'm asking for $750. Our 3 things that we are purchasing totals $749.96. So I am hoping that it gets approved because it was lower, but inflation has occurred on some carts, and so if it goes up, then we're gonna have to increase or how much I'm requesting. And so I know last year, there's these 2 sisters, that's where the grant money comes from. One of them was named Louise Hawks, if you guys are familiar with that name. We actually have 2 boxes of book donations from like a century, they're books from like a century ago. Super cool. As a librarian who just finished a course on the history of publishing and all that, like, it's very cool. But anyways, the last year was Louise Hawks. I don't know what the sister's or cousin's name is for this one. And basically you just have to go through and say your service population, your staff, and then explain what your project is, what the goal is, and ours is just for summer reading. So basically in every single box that I had to enter, explained what the point of summer reading is and like, you know, what's good about summer.
What's the impact?
Yeah. And then I had to submit picture or like a PDF of the different carts of things. So again, it's basically all, something is from, or I have one cart from CSLP. I can never remember what CSLP stands for, but they're like the summer reading, the people for that. And so I'm getting like a bunch of promotional posters, a few small, like there's one thing, they are library card holders, and I think they are super cool. And the theme this year is Adventure Begins at Your Library. So this is a little separate, but another thing that we're trying to get from Amazon, or in the Amazon card, I guess, instead of doing summer reading like how it normally is, we're gonna get passports, because adventure is the theme. And I know a lot of other libraries are doing that, so it's gonna take a little bit of work of probably myself and Heidi, but yeah, we're getting a lot of travel inspired things, I would say. And then we also are getting 100 coloring books from some company that reached out to me, and the coloring books are the Adventure Begins at Your Library themed, and then it also is kind of like promotional marketing for us, because it has like our address, our email, or our URL to our website, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the director going forward with applying for the grant through the Hillsdale County Community Foundation for $750, you said?
Yes.
Alright, the motion is made, do I hear a second?
Second.
Alright, any further discussion of the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye, the motion passes, excellent. The next thing I have under new business is discussion of our contributing updates to the BPU quarterly newsletter. I mean, my first thought is now that we have a director, do you wanna find out who makes this thing? And see if we can make
Yeah.
sure that what's in there is up to date?
I was gonna
If
say,
each department is supposed to submit something.
Right.
I would
or
imagine that's what it
the
is.
timeline
Yeah.
is for that, and maybe they just vote this in the absence of a director, but obviously we wanna have your name in there for
yeah,
a new hire.
and I don't know if it's something sometimes Heidi might send, but I believe I think Heidi was referring to, she sometimes sends things to the newspaper to include things like that.
The Daily News.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I almost think I don't know who has submitted that stuff, I really don't. I would assume it's me in the future, but I don't know who has.
Because it's all departments, you're aware of the quarterly newsletter, right? I mean, it's all the different departments, I mean, it tells you things about leaf pickup, or, the brush pickup, or, new hires around the city. Or
I'm sure you could just
snow
call
removal.
somebody with BPU and say, hey, who does the newsletter? We should make sure we're keeping them up to date. Yeah.
Just kinda came to my attention, and I was like, wait a minute, we've never had Rebecca's name in there.
So any further questions or discussion? Okay. Very good. Seeing none, the next thing is the proposal for a potential open house. The director's been on board for a bit. Do you want an honorary open house? Can we?
If you guys want to, I would do it.
Okay.
I would do it. I don't know how you guys ran them in the past. I don't know if you guys would also attend them. I'm not sure, but,
Well, if we had one, we should be there.
yeah, I was gonna say, if,
Of course.
I would be okay with doing one, do I need to say more on that?
I just,
Okay.
what we did before with Brianna, I mean, you can do a lot of different things, but we just kind of had a general open house it was like an hour or two before a regular board meeting, so it was kind of when the library was still open, and
Okay.
then we came to that early and then stayed on. We had a couple little activities, I think they had a drawing for a prize for people that attended, we just had some basic refreshments, some cookies and water bottles or punch. Do you remember anything else we did? I think our children's director was pretty new at the time, and she might have had a little activity in the children's section, or had like a little sheet out there with some of her activities that were coming up. I don't really 100% remember, but.
And then the director after that, Spangler, she said
We
she
asked if
wasn't
she wanted
interested
one, and
in
she
that sort of thing.
Wasn't
Yes.
comfortable with that, which is, that was fine.
I will say,
And part of that was the season she came on,
Yeah.
like you, it was going into Thanksgiving and Christmas and
Yeah.
a busy time of year. The January calendar is already out, I don't know if we wanna make sure we get it, pick a date, give a recommendation and put it on the February calendar, although I know February's a shorter month and you've got the Vitatex people here and the election here, but is there a date?
I mean, February does have an extra day, it is a leap year,
Oh, there we go.
so, whatever, it doesn't matter to me,
that would be Thursday the 29th.
yes, yeah. I mean, if you guys wanted to do it at the same, like, a board meeting day,
That would be the 8th.
Initially, I kind of thought about like February 14th, like a love your library thing, but I don't wanna interfere with
some
people's
people
Valentine's
have,
plans.
yeah.
Plus, for those of you in the religious community, it's the start of Lent, Ash Wednesday, so that was like, okay, that won't work. So I was just looking ahead at February so that we could actually get it on the calendar, because you post the calendar.
I think if we did something like starting just at 4 o'clock, an hour before the meeting
Sure.
on Thursday the 8th, would probably be the most convenient, because we're planning to be here anyway.
And we could still do a love the library theme, cause it's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the whole month is.
I love planning parties.
Yeah.
If there's a party, I'll come to it, I'll say that.
Alright. So we're looking at Thursday, February 8th at 4 p.m. You
Sure.
make sure Heidi gets that on the calendar.
Mhm.
I don't think that we need a motion or anything.
Okay.
What time did we say?
4.
any further discussion on that item then? All right, hearing none. That concludes new business. We're moving on to board comments. Any general comment from members of the board? Going once? Yes.
I do believe that my months of being able to bring Mara and have her be a silent observer are now officially over. So my apologies. At least
No
it was
problem.
pleasant shrieking.
Oh, yeah, no,
Um,
that's
but
so
I
low
think
level.
our silent visitor up front is now done being silent, so, sorry guys.
It's really
All
low
right.
level.
You do what you
All
have to
right.
do.
No, that's fine. Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Oh, I was,
Yes.
one more thing, just out of curiosity, your insurance did kick in with the city?
I
Okay.
believe so. I haven't used it yet by any means, but I got a card.
Okay.
So,
I
yeah.
just wanna make sure you're covered, cause
Yes.
I didn't understand what the timeline was.
Yeah, that
It
was a little
confusing
confusing.
timeline.
Yes, yes. Yep, yeah.
So you have a credit card, you have insurance, you have.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think everything that this, actually can't really say that, but aside from the employee handbook, everything that I need from the city, I have,
Okay,
so.
and the employee handbook,
Aside from the employee handbook,
Yeah,
you haven't gotten a
you still don't
handbook
have
yet?
a handbook, yeah.
it's available online though?
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't,
I'm asking.
I have looked on the
Is it some
city's
person?
website.
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, along that same line, do we have an employee handbook?
Here?
Here for our staff?
So I have looked around, everything that I can find is definitely old. So I don't know how much has changed, but the things that I can find are from like 2010 era. So you would imagine in the last 14 years now, something has been changed in the employee handbook. And I will also say,
That might be an item for
Yeah.
future agendas.
Yes.
it also took a really long time to get a list of holiday closures from the city. And you would also think, and I may have said this to George at our meeting last week, you would think that on the city's calendar, city website's calendar, that they would include the city holidays, that the city will be closed. They do not. However, I finally got a list from Katie, the clerk, and because I can go in and edit the website, I actually wanna see if I can edit the calendar and just edit it in myself. So they may not be happy with me, but I think that's actually something that people would like to know, because if they have to pay something, or I don't know, I just feel like people should know that stuff.
Well, there are dates
be a
people get
hidden-
confused about, like Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, which one are we
Yeah.
closed for, which one are we not? And we
Yes.
follow the city's calendar,
Yes.
so we need to know that so we can post it.
Yeah, that's like, I wasn't for sure about Martin Luther King Day, which is next Monday, until like the 3rd, last week when we came back, or was that last week, I'm not sure, but I didn't know that we were closed for MLK Day, because again, like, it really depends, like city to city or place to place, if like MLK Day, President's Day, all of those things are observed, like,
Right.
and when you Google the 11.5 federal holidays, they include President's Day, they include all of these things, but our 11.5 includes, the half is Good Friday, but the others are like Christmas and Christmas Eve. So it's not like the 11.5 federal holidays,
Right.
it's a little modified.
And presumably all of this would be in the employee handbook. that
That's
you
why,
don't have.
that's why I really wanted that
So-
thing, but yeah.
Well, I've been poking around on the website, I'm not turning it up.
Yeah. You really would think.
You would. Okay. All right, Josh, get on it. Come on.
We'll get it done.
All right.
That's your mission.
All right, any other comments from the board? Going once, going twice, great. All right, our next meeting date is, I believe, Thursday, February the 8th at 5 p.m. That being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded, all in favor? Aye. All right, secretary, we adjourned at 6:20 p.m.